Hello and welcome to episode number 10 of our podcast. My name is Alicky.
I'm Alicky and
this podcast is with one of your friends, Alicky
Gravell, who's a therapist, a local therapist to Tilbury. I think she's in next to Foxham or somewhere there. We've had the opportunity to speak to her. She's really interactive and she really enjoys what she does, really. And we talked about many different subjects, a bit always on the same variation, on the same theme. And I think she had quite a lot of things to say. We even at some stage, I think, talked about PiF transplant for autistic children. So I think it went quite far. It was a good one.
Yeah, nicely put. As always, if you want to comment, like, share,
interact with us, yes.
Yeah, then please do. And,
feel free.
We hope you enjoy the podcast.
Perambulations in franglais. Alicky, welcome.
Thank you.
To our podcast, Perambulation in franglais, tonight. And we're really excited to have you around because we think you're really awesome and we want to talk to you and hear you talk about what you're enthusiastic about, because I think we need loads of enthusiastic people around. That's the main thing, really. So, talk to us a bit, maybe just introduce yourself, maybe, how awesome is it to be Alicky Gravell? Or something like that.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me here.
Very nice.
Very honoured to be here. Well, what can I tell you? I am an integrated mind and body therapist. So that means that I treat both mind and body. So whether you've got a physical problem, it's often connected to a mental problem. If it's a mental problem, it often shows up in a physical way. So my work is really deciding which one needs treating first.
Yes, that's it.
I'm traditionally Chinese medically trained with shiatsu rather than acupuncture, which is very effective. That was 28 years ago. I use an Interex machine, which is the original scalar technology, which is was developed for the Russians, by the Russians for the Russian astronauts. Which is a neurofeedback device, which is fantastic for pain and all sorts, but primarily for pain. It's marketed for pain, really, so that's great. I use EFT techniques, which is a tapping technique, emotional freedom technique. Do you know that?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
All of the things you said so far are great starting conversations.
What else do? It's integration of everything really, but a bit of hypnosis. I'm trained in that, and I kind of spliced it all up into 1 hour and a half session really.
With patients? With clients?
With clients, yes, with patients, clients. Interesting conversation. Are they patients or are they clients?
Or they are a bit of both.
Yeah, that's a lot of time.
Yeah, that's it.
And touch on a bit of meta medicine, which kind of explains more of what I do, whereby the body will express as an illness and a sickness due to a mental anxiety of some description, trauma.
Like a theatre.
Yeah.
Like a theatre. Yeah.
So most of it's trauma based. Pain is trauma based, whether it's mental or physical. So trauma being that big word, and trauma and inflammation as well. So that's the start.
That's the start. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, nutrition. I do lots of nutrition, but I'm not.
It.
I don't advertise myself as a nutritionist because I find that too just. I am trained, but I add in nutrition to my therapy.
Okay, good.
It's kind of like you have to have I feel like you have to have an understanding of nutrition if you're doing anything to do with humans and like mental and physical health, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because couple of times you mentioned you were going abroad to do conferences or seminars or retreat or things like that. Can you talk to us a bit more about that and what it consists of or things like that? And
the retreats are, if I'm a guest on a retreat, it's purely for detox.
Okay.
So mental and physical detox. My favourite place has been in Turkey. In fact, 2 of them have been in Turkey. But I go with a girlfriend, we try and change places.
Location, okay.
But it's juicing, usually juicing, so it's pure liquid, fast. Really.
Fast, okay.
That's where
with what? If you exercise a bit, or
you exercise,
or like walking,
you can do yoga, Pilates, you can do cardio if you want. I personally don't like doing too much cardio when I'm doing it, but it's good to be in a warm place. You've got to be nurtured a bit. But it's good to have a bit of mental support too, because the last one I did particularly, I had a bereavement and certainly it all came out, so it's quite nice to have somebody there
to a group as well to support you. Okay. And people who go through the same thing, through the same process in a retreat as well. Okay.
Yes, so minimum 4 days, I wouldn't do it any less than that, but it's fantastic. So I learned a lot about detoxing, fasting, and plant-based diets, I suppose, from these retreats as well. And that started my gut health interest off, I suppose, and how it reacts with the brain, and how really, if your gut ain't working, then nothing else is working. So that's a lot of my work at the moment. And I talk on some seminars and conferences and usually on my work with the gut and whatever modality I might be using, whatever the conference is about, whether it's about nutrition or whether it's about the Interex machine, which was the last one I did. So that was an international.
What is that machine?
It's a neurofeedback device, I should have bought it, which reads off the nervous system. So you get the neurofeedback off the nervous system. You treat the spine and the face points, which are trigeminal nerves, so they tie up with the back. And a sort of housewife version of explaining it, I suppose, is like it rejigs the electrical system. So it's a bit like turning your computer off and then turning it back on again. It sort of rewires the system. What do you call it? Reboot.
Control, alt, delete.
And and it literally does that. And I mean, I said to a patient today, I don't actually really need to know what's wrong with you. You could just come in and I could treat you and you go away and you feel better. But I'm really nosy, so I quite like to know what's going on. But I also, clearly because it's an electrical device, if they've got pacemakers or any problems in the heart, or they've got, warfarin or anything like that, you do actually have to really know what you're dealing with. So it has an effect on the mind and the brain and the body.
And what's it called again?
The Interex that I use is called Interex, Interrex. But it's the original scalar technology, which stands for very long-winded words, which I can't remember what they are, but I can tell you later if you want. But it's a self-regulator, so it's a body regulator, really.
I've never even heard of that before.
So people they're going to be a bit worried about like 5G coming on because of all the kind of like how it enters in resonance with some of your electrical activity, all those kind of stuff, and now depending on the distance you are from the mast, all those kind of stuff is going to really be affecting a bit those electrical communication between different parts.
So people can have Interex by their bed and every morning reset themselves like.
I don't know, because that's always the thing really in terms of diet and all those things. It's really how you control your environment a little bit, or how you control yourself in your environment, or the response you're having in light of the environment changing, all those kind of things really. So like plant-based diet is quite the current thing, which is quite an interesting thing really, because it's all meat diet type thing really, which works as well maybe. There's ketogenic diet, there's intermittent fasting diet as well. So there's quite a few diets which are
it's really
actually quite relevant.
You've got to find what suits you.
That's it.
Because keto can be actually really, it's meant to be fantastic for cancer patients, but I know it can have a detrimental effect on cancer patients too, cause kidney stones and
so I tend to take chelating substances. So I take charcoals and spirulina and all sorts of things in order to really clear the gut really, and I drink 3 good liters of water a day really. So you need a good kidney function as well. So it's maybe not for everybody, but to kickstart the whole process a bit, I think it's quite an interesting thing really. But it's quite protein based, so you can have like loads of plant proteins, of course, but animal proteins are quite interesting as well. Really.
But also in Chinese medicine, you know, having a plant-based diet is great, but if you're having it raw and cold, it can be very damaging for some people, for your makeup. So you would be able to tell someone's makeup whether you're a hot person, a damp person, a cold person, a fiery, livery, well actually fire and liver are different, but fiery person or a livery person. You know, you train over all the years. It's a 3-year intensive on how to read the body. So you know, if you were having a raw diet, it probably wouldn't be so good for you. Whereas you know, you might actually really benefit from a raw diet, but it's very hard when people say you've got to have a plant-based diet, you've got to have up your meat. You've just got to see what suits you really.
That's kind of my thing about almost every topic, because it's like, and that's actually why I know we spoke before about like, what is this, like doing a podcast. That's actually why I really wanted to do one, and why I find them really interesting, because I think having a long format conversation about these kind of things is way more interesting than being like, everyone has to be vegan, like that's it, like full stop. It's like, I'm not really too sure how, I don't think that's very beneficial on an individual level, like helping people at all. And also
the new word now is vegan.
What's that?
A fish vegan.
A fish vegan, yes.
Because you know, because it can be.
Because fish is really good for you.
Don't quote me. Well, you can quote me, but I think vegan diets can be very detrimental for certain types of people, certain makeups of people. Going back to the Chinese medicine way of looking at things, or the Ayurvedic as where, you know,
Kapha, Pitta, and Vata.
It really suits some people, and it's healed people from the most extraordinary things, but other people can become very deficient.
Yeah,
so
that's why, like you said, you've kind of got to know what is good for you, or try and find something that works for you. And I guess go and see like someone who might be able to point you in the right direction, and not be biased, not be like automatically push everyone down vegan initially kind of thing, like actually try and find out what is best for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Because some people, there's been like increase of people doing the carnivore diet, which I found it really fascinating for a long time, because I was like, well, everyone said that these people should basically be dead or dying from scurvy or whatever else, and they've been doing it for a long time and they're completely like fine and feel healthy. And it was kind of like a bit of a answer, or like a inverse of the vegan fad, if you like. But again, it's just the same thing. Like it might work really well for someone, but
might not work very well for others, really.
Yeah.
Well, it worked well for Eskimos, so that's one good thing, really. Because they're not going to have broccoli.
Well, the keto. What was they? Oh, they just have high fat.
High fat, high protein.
Very good for the
basically
brain.
carnivore. Yeah.
But they are eating animals which are actually strictly vegetarian as well, really. So that's the other thing as well. So we talk about that carnivorous diet, but we tend to have to source the meat that you eat very carefully. And meat that has been kind of battery fed type thing is going to be its content in omega-3, or the ratio between omega-3 and omega-6 is really being changed an awful lot, really, compared to cattle who's been really strictly grazed on clover and grass is going to have quite a good omega-3.
And moved regularly.
That's it. On top of that, plus the movement and things. So the type of muscle you're tending to actually deal with, and the content of fat you tend to, and the type of fat you have is actually quite different as well, really. So there's all those things a bit, I think, and narrowing it down too much is really losing a bit the context and the actual person and thing. And then environment-wise, in terms of diet, people quite like to have regain a bit of control over what they eat or themselves. And it's, to talk about diet is quite a good mean to get more control in a way, really, or more competence, or belonging to a group of people, because the vegans are, I think they've got a bit the ethical higher ground at the moment, which actually is interesting, really, and definitely eating less meat at the moment and commercially reared meat is possibly the things that we need to maybe stop being addicted to a little bit, really. And it would be not only good for ourselves, but it would be good too for the planet, really. But from there to actually completely stop the consumption of meat is maybe a bit far-fetched.
Well, like anything, it's too extreme.
Too extreme, that's it.
Looking for balance.
That's it. Or maybe as a detox type thing. And
detox,
yeah. That's quite an extreme way of going about, but that's because you want a trigger for change anyway. So you have to kickstart the whole thing as well, really. So that's the good thing about that, really.
Yeah. But people always complain about, organic food is too expensive, and you have to travel further to get it. Sometimes, not always, you can get it delivered. But what I always say to people is just eat less, because it's better quality.
That's it.
So you don't need as much. Does that make sense?
People overeat anyway.
People overeat, and the amount of people that say to me, when I do these talks and things on gut health, and I just did one in the city for some workers, which I'll tell you about, and but all these vegetables I buy, they just sit in the bottom of my fridge. And I'm like, well, why are you buying so many? And they're, well, because I've been told I've got to do this every day and whatever. So I said, well, just chuck it in a smoothie then. At the end of the day, just chuck it in a nutrient thing, and then you've got the whole lot in one hit anyway. And they're like, it's amazing. You just think, there's so much out there. Have you not read any of it? But people are very ill-informed.
Or interest, I think, in most cases.
Well, it's too complicated.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to hear about your chat to some workers. I'm not sure if I'm thinking about a different type of worker, but with people who work in the construction industry, always, like everyone I've ever worked with and my brother and stuff, they'll just buy like some sandwiches or something, and then like a drink, and then maybe a sausage roll or something, just like put it all in. And often they're like, I need that amount to have the energy and stuff. But I found for me, when I went from doing that, I went to like a keto diet for like 2 months, and it just like wreaked havoc with my body basically. But I was like, what I did find out is I did not need to eat anywhere near as much, and I could, if I just pushed through the occasional time that I get a bit of discomfort initially when I was hungry, after that all of a sudden was like just completely fine, if not maybe better. It's interesting.
Your stomach shrinks a little bit, you need a bit less.
And your body adapts. It's the thing, like going back to talking about the scalar machine, it allows the body to adapt to change, and it's often I will treat people who are in detox and things, because it helps the body just to regulate, I suppose. But
and stabilize.
Because I know people who can eat nothing and then eat one meal in the evening, and I think that's amazing. But I'd be probably killing the traffic warden and the person who stopped at the, they go hangry, but that's just my makeup, I'm more likely to duck and dive, whereas, somebody else, so it goes back to that, each person is
knowing what's good for yourself.
But because with that as well, I was noticing a bit, it's the way you cook as well. So it's not only the diet, but it's how the food is prepared. And there's quite a lot about that. I think it's not only diet we need to look at, but it's cookery classes in a way. So because if you got like the deep fryer and the pans and the oven and you got all the culture, or not culture, but all the plates and equipment and things like that. That is for the diet you're having really, and a NutriBullet and whatever other to steam things. So you can't really do that in a deep fryer really, in a way, and that's a bit the tricky part really. So you almost not only have to wean yourself from certain foods, but you need to add or get rid of some of the used like the cookery tools that you have in a way, in order a little chopping board or a proper knife to do things with the vegetables and things, even how to I don't know, is this
This is the Frenchman talking.
Yeah. There's quite a lot of skills.
Proper chef,
yeah, you see, even Japanese things.
Can you actually cook?
Yeah, you bet. But like my brother-in-law, for example, is really fond of cooking, but he likes to fish in the summer. He gets all the snappers and the mackerels and things like that, and he kills them in a certain fashion through their spinal cord, so that there's not too much stress in the meat, and in the way he fillets it, all those kind of stuff, and the way he cooks it a bit, like it's pretty amazing. But you have to have the tools to do it really,
and the skills,
and the knowledge. So the whole diet, sometimes I think it's a bit like it's really an emotional thing. People talk about their auntie or their grandma's, like meat pies or things like that, and the smells they have, and the togetherness, the Sunday lunch part of things, all those kind of stuff. Oh, I can't start my diet until after Christmas, because at Christmas we're having the whole lot and saying, yeah, it's August, there's another 4 months till Christmas really. I don't know, I'll do my diet after because I really want to eat during, and I'm like, well, yeah, but there's another Christmas 12 months after, so...
And actually, detoxing in the winter is the worst thing
possible, exactly.
They say you should detox spring
and autumn.
So change the equinox, change your seasons. Yeah, you won't lose much weight in January. You might feel better, but you won't lose. Whereas if you do it in sort of April,
I guess that makes sense.
Pounds will shred. Yeah. Well, we need, we need
pounds
to
just slide off me no matter what. I'm very fortunate, depending on how you look at it.
That's it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
What about
environment?
I think that the cooking thing is definitely for friends that I've got who have tried to lose weight. They struggle the most with just what can I eat? It's like even as if they're eating particularly bad things, and they've joined certain like weight loss classes and things, and they haven't some of them haven't worked. And then they've tried. Some
people love a regime. They love 8 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. They like to follow a regime, 4 almonds, a juice at 6, or whatever it might be. And they stick to it. And they're very
regimented.
That's another thing in traditional Chinese medicine as well. That's the type of person.
That's it.
Whereas other people like to just have a basic outline of what they can do, and that's what I really do. Is do again what I call the housewife version, the easy version. The uncomplicated version, and just have a load of food that you can eat. So you're kind of adding in rather than always taking out. So psychologically, it's much better. And if you add in, you then don't need the other stuff that you need to take out. Does that make sense?
That's exactly what you spoke about not that long ago.
Oh, really?
Alexi was like, maybe it's not about, he was like, maybe psychologically it's much better to talk about what you can eat rather than what you can't eat.
So most people come into me and they say, I've been told I can never eat bread again, I can never drink again, I can never have double cream on my whatever it might be.
Strawberries in bed.
I mean, if you've got a serious disease and like arthritis and stuff, you do not want to be using tomatoes, strawberries, whatever it might be. But it's let's just rehash this. Should we just start again? And you say, okay, well let's just do it for a couple of weeks. And you go, oh, you'll probably find then never eat bread again.
That's it. But
just don't say never. That word never is just like that naughty child. You will never have that sweet, and all they want is the sweet. Forget the chocolate cake on the side. That's the way I work, and I think it seems to.
Yeah, I think that's a good way
and little bite-sized changes too. Don't overload the system.
I had a couple of colleagues as osteopaths who were doing food intolerance testing, and the layout is all what you can't eat. And I always was a bit dubious about the thing. It's a bit like, yeah, it's great, okay, great, so why is it I can't eat? Because you still need to eat. And you've just been told about what you can't eat. So it really doesn't solve your problem at all. I think it puts even more of a problem, because you're trying to eliminate things when actually you need to, as Alicky says, you need to add things in your plate. Really.
Our nutrition is very low at the end of the day. The quality of nutrition is very low. So like you were saying, for drinks and sausage rolls and everything else, but the actual nutritional content of that is very low. So you need to add a lot of more oils for the brain needs oil, all that sort of stuff, all the high quality stuff on top. So I will do supplementation. People don't like it much, but if you explain to them what's going on, then they understand it. And sometimes I say just put it in a smoothie.
Yeah.
Chop it up.
Fish oils are a bit tricky, so if you put them in a smoothie, it's easy with a bit of lemon and things.
Or for children, just crush it up and put it in a little bit of honey or something. I'm sure there's ethical reasons or other reasons why one shouldn't do it. It's better that than not.
What, ethical or whatever reasons?
Because maybe breaking it down and crushing it sort of breaks down the nutritional value of it. But you're still going to get. I don't know if I believe that really, but I think you're still going to get it.
I think people always will say something about something, won't they?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are quite anti supplements, and I actually got asked this question today by one of my friends. Like she was ill. She sent me a picture of like a bottle with different vitamins and stuff in. She was like, "What do you think about it?" And my personal opinion with all of that kind of stuff is like maybe try and figure out the stress stuff first, because I think for me and in my experience, stress has such a much bigger factor on things like IBS and being like catching a cold and things like that. Like she eats really well, she's vegan, she eats unbelievably well, really good cook. So for me, I'm like, I don't think that's really much of an issue.
So what are her symptoms? I mean, is she,
I think she's basically she's a tour manager for Zara Larsson, loads of other famous people.
So stress.
Yeah.
I mean, stress. That's such a blanket word, isn't it? But
overwork.
It's like
a lot of work, overload of work,
I think
and travelling.
She's definitely much better, like finding her balance. I think that's what it's all about, isn't it? Like, there's a psychotherapist that I really like, clinical psychologist I really like, who talks about going full pace in your 20s as much as you can within reason, and then towards the end of your 20s and in your 30s, find your balance of where you sit, because your body and your mind and lots of other things can really take it in the 20s, so long as you're not hammering alcohol and drugs. It's like you can really take it. And then when you're in your 30s, then you've learnt loads of stuff, you've hopefully found out what you wanted to do, and then you're probably really good at it, so you don't have to do as much of it to earn your living, and you can find your balance and and I really like that idea.
It's an interesting point of view, isn't
it? So obviously.
So a lot of my work involves, as I said before, gut health, and it's finding what you can take in your gut without putting under any stress. But stress will, of any, like I said, it's a bit of a blanket word, but stress, anxiety, stress, any emotional overwhelm, I suppose, will have a massive effect on your gut, because it's the same tissue as your brain anyway. And so...
That's so crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Well, part of the gut is the same tissue as
so it's neural tissue.
Yeah.
So when you're an embryo, it does something and it splits, and goes up to the brain and down to your gut. So you've got this sort of two-way street going on. But what I advocate is to keep this healthy, and then it'll really help with your mental attitude towards things. I'm not saying you don't need to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist or other things might be going on, but you can't just do that.
Yeah,
You have to do the
two.
whole connection, which is where I come in.
I think the way I view it, and this might be wrong, the way I view it is a two-way street.
Yeah.
And I think when you try to figure out the stress side of things, or if there's something obvious that's really upsetting you or stressing you, causing tension, whatever, often the other things start to come in a little bit as well. So if you're comfort eating, I find if I'm comfort eating, or I used to smoke quite a lot and like smoking, but if I try to figure out what I'm stressing about and what that addiction was preventing me from seeing or addressing, it's kind of like a two-way street then. It's like for the brain neurons and for the gut neurons, because I'm not smoking and I'm not eating rubbish. So yeah, I don't know, the nutrition and the supplement thing is like super tricky. It's also a massive industry, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
Supplements.
It's yeah, absolutely. And again, it's finding the good quality supplements, and I would prefer to have the capsules, because actually you can open the capsules and put them in food if you want, rather than the big sort of brick.
Yeah.
Which
The
I
one
once.
pill that fixes it.
Well, I once spoke to a what do they call them? What's the cesspit? You know, the when you're not on mainline sewage.
Septic tank.
Septic tank, thank you. And he came to empty this septic tank when we bought this house, and we didn't know about what to do with it anyway. And he said the amount of septic tanks that he empties, at the bottom there's a layer of vitamin pills, and you can still read the writing on them, because people's gut health is so bad, it just goes straight through.
Yeah.
You know, and I rest my case. I mean, that was just a local septic tank emptier.
But even
knew nothing about it.
But even if you're able to absorb, or if your gut is able to process the whole lot, the excess that your body doesn't need is going to be flushed anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it's your body is clever enough to be able to take what's needed and what's not really.
But then some things, like I've supplemented on turmeric for a very, very long time, and when I don't for like 3 months, and then I go back on it, I'm like, I don't know why I ever stopped, because it's great. And with turmeric, you need black pepper and ideally like lipids or fats to help your body absorb the curcumin, and other vitamins and things like that. Probably the same.
Well, it depends, because there's fat-soluble vitamins and there's water-soluble vitamins.
It's a massive subject.
Yeah.
And a massive industry. So.
Some people are making lots of money, and because it's about quantity rather than quality at the end of the day, and that's it. And then we'll see Alicky, she might be able to advise you on being like, whoa, hold on 5 minutes, and then we can maybe revisit that later, save your money for now, and then focus on the first thing, and then the supplement can be absorbed better.
Yeah, because spending money on a therapist is a tricky one to rationalize, but kind of, especially if you're not thinking rationally. Because the first few times I came to see Alexi, I was like, I mean, he gives me a little bit of money off, but it's a little bit like, I don't want to pay that. And then he was like, yeah, but how much do you spend on a night out? I bet you've had some big nights out that you're probably spending about the same amount of money. Why don't you just get yourself sorted? And if you go see a therapist, you're getting some professional information that, in the ideal world, obviously not all therapists are going to be able to do this or do this. You're then able to go away with that information and actually put it into your life.
And you've got it.
Put it into the theatre.
How much a client are you? How much a patient are you? Yeah.
Oh, I say to people, somebody I had that conversation about money, and I said, as she drinks probably about 5, I think she was drinking about 5 cappuccinos a day, was what we sort of broke it down to. And I said, well, each cappuccino that you're having is $3.75 for a large one, so that's 5. That's nearly 20 quid a day. So perhaps cut the coffee out and then come back and see me, or have 1 cup of coffee a day and come and see me, because you are in severe pain. You need some treatment, you know. And but
priorities.
It's priorities.
Yeah.
It's priorities. So, but you know, we're all at fault. I do it too.
Yeah, 100%.
But that's a great thing of going to see somebody who knows they are doing it as well. That's the thing, really. But yes, I said you need to lead by example a little bit, but leading by example is actually knowing that the consequence of not doing it properly. It's not actually so much about doing it properly and why it leads you to, really, but because there's order is much more difficult than chaos in a way, and that's the whole problem a bit, really, that we all face as patients ourselves, really. That's the thing, really. And going to see a therapist.
You learn from your patients.
And you learn from patients, but your patients can learn from you as well, and your mistake, really. So, having been a smoker, when people come and they talk to me about smoking and things, I'm like, well, yeah, at the end of the day, you breathe. And you use cigarette to breathe. You could use your pain, you could use something else, and it will cost you a bit less. And actually just about using your diaphragm to de-stress, really. That's it, full stop. And unless you got ulcerative colitis, what's the point of smoking anyway? But yeah, the need that you think you get fulfilled with the behavior, really. But it's just about controlling your diaphragm, and then all that communication, brain and gut, with that polyvagal theory I've been introduced to not too long ago, which is like very recent, with a different type of vagus nerve, and it's all that physiology of feeling safe in a way. So there's that emotional stress a bit, and now you talk about the facial nerve and the trigeminal nerve, there's accessory nerve as well. So how is it we are socialized, and how much I think you're a threat to me in light of how do I read your body language, and how it informs me on how it goes, and it goes to my gut via a part of my vagus nerve, and otherwise there's that other part which is very gregarious and very old, which is that am I in danger of dying, and that's a different part of it, which actually is going to go to your gut as well.
Well, so you feel it.
When you feel it, well, that's it, the gut feeling we have, that's it.
There was a wonderful podcast about that, actually. I can't remember his name, but I can dig it out for you. Yeah. But about exactly that, about women in danger at night, walking home from a party or going into their flat, and you have a gut feeling, a sense that something's not right.
And you have to always...
We don't listen to it. And all these people were coming on saying, I had that feeling, I just knew that man standing on the street corner, I don't know why, I knew it was bad, I felt it in my gut. I felt that response, but my upbringing taught me to be ridiculous, shoulders back, be polite, don't be so rude to the man, I'm sure there's nothing wrong with him at all, he's probably just lonely or something.
That's it.
And it would never happen to me.
It would never happen to me, but it's that response you get from a human being, even a man standing on the street.
On your peripheral vision, all those rest of things, no doubt. And you read your environment. Your body reads your environment, even if you don't consciously read it.
Yeah.
You are wired, really hardwired to read it, because it's a life and death situation, and your gut feels it. And we talk a lot about pathology arising when you don't follow your gut feeling. A little bit. That the feedback your body gives you, and the longer you ignore it, the more likely you are to actually develop a pathology, which is quite an interesting concept. Really.
That is. No, I was teaching the group on Friday about stress in the workplace. Really, it was wellness in the workplace was the title. But it's about stress with co-workers. So, I'm not talking about stress with deadlines. Everybody has deadlines, and this is what you can do for that. But this is what I want to talk to you about. And it was, really that, you might say something to your co-worker, to me, something that you think is perfectly normal. For some reason, I've taken it like, get you, but I feel it. You physically feel it. Often, it's not anything to do with me. It's your stuff. I've just picked up your energy, so it's that facial recognition, that thing. Something is going on with you, we don't know what it is, but you've passed it on to me. So it's just letting people be aware of that. Don't let it build into something that it's not. If that happens, don't take that person on. Just go away. I've got some little techniques that you can use just to get rid of that feeling, clear it, and then just be aware of it. And everyone's like, whoa, that's amazing, but it's part of my life. But you realise that actually so many people just have not a clue.
But in that example where I said something and you were like, what? And you, whatever was going on with me, you got that feeling in the gut. It's like if I'm guessing you're referring to something like, I don't know, I've got something going on, or I don't particularly, or I've got an issue with this person, or I've got like a personal issue going on. Like in my shoes, what can you do in that situation? Because you have to communicate. Right?
Yes.
And your communication
well, it sort of depends on what's happening.
Like sometimes people are going to try and communicate out of spite if they've got an issue with them or something. And
I think it's more of an unconscious thing.
Yeah, that's
really.
what I mean. So if I like had some personal issues and I was communicating with someone at work and they could tell I'm off, like eye contact's always a classic, and I know when I have that, my eye contact is always just like never like communicating like, by the way, if you've done that thing for me, it's like, but what can I do in that situation?
Well, I think it would be dissolved by whoever was, so-called attacked, as it were, and energetically attacked by, them taking it away. So it would be dissolved, so there wouldn't be a connection anymore. There's some wonderful graphics actually on that, where people can sort of suck the energy out of you, literally, with not even knowing you're doing it. I mean, you probably actually, to be honest, wouldn't even be aware you were doing it. It was something you had said, but it was the way it was said, it was the tone, it was the delivery, the energy behind it, I suppose. Unconsciously, so it's not necessarily a conscious barb at somebody, it's more of an unconscious feeling. It's that, what you were just saying, it's that we are scanning all the time. I've scanned you, you've scanned me, I've scanned you, I've scanned over there, I've scanned everything. You're scanning all the time. It's millions and millions and millions of times a second, and it's working.
Our visual ability is like what really separates us amongst other things, but from other mammals, isn't it? Like our eyes are ridiculously good.
Picking up cues, but it's in your genes. We've been bred to do that. We are so proficient at doing it, extremely proficient at doing it. It's a survival thing in a way. But after it's how is it you control? How is it you not control your environment, but how is it you change a bit your response in light of the environment? So I pick up the whole thing from you, which is your thing, not mine. That's one thing.
You've really got some issues tonight.
In a way. No. Or you pick it up for me. Because you do as well.
Yeah,
it's a two-way thing. But how do you feel it? And what is it you can do to try to clear it a little bit? Because that's the whole thing, really. And we talk a lot about that.
Response to
exactly, the response to your environment and thing. And we talk a lot about stress with that expectation fulfillment theory of dream, and the fact that it's what you think, it's how much it's what you think you have in terms of the need compared to how much you really need, and the difference between the two, and that's what you can change, really. Okay, so how is it when I pick up how much you're making me feel, and how is it I can get rid of that because I don't really need it, really. Okay, so that's what I can change. I'm not going to be able to change you in a way, okay, and I'm not going to be able to change my response to you because it's actually a good thing. But I need to be able to clear that a little
not
bit.
taking it home with you.
Not taking it home with you.
Taking ownership or responsibility for that situation.
Yeah, but it's to be skilled as well.
Yeah.
So you need to be skilled as well to be able to recognize the whole thing, and having the technique to be the EFT.
It's very simple.
What
are those techniques?
It's quite a lot of, that might be another one.
Yeah.
An energy podcast. We should do an energy one.
I'm up for it.
Because there are some techniques that you can do.
Is that something to do with EFT? Or is it like a few different
this
things?
This isn't to do with EFT, but it's all connected. But EFT is more, you're tapping on the acupuncture points around the face, around the head, chest and under the arm, really to get rid of sort of fear, phobia, anxiety. So again, physical responses, but it could be massive trauma, PTSD, things like that. We can use it for pain. So I often do group sessions, introducing it, whereby we use pain. So I had people the other day, one had a sore toe, one had an elbow, one had a neck, and you just do a group sort of tapping around, even though I have this pain in my neck, even though I have this pain in my foot, whatever it might be, I can release it. And by voicing the negative, you're tapping it out of the system. So your system, the energy in your energetic system, the charge in your energetic system is a negative charge. So you're getting the negative charge out by tapping, I suppose. So whether it's PTSD, whether it's anxiety, whether it's against your response to it, really that's the issue. But it gets out of your system, and you're released. You are released.
Yeah.
I mean, it's extraordinarily quick. It's very, very quick.
Your tension goes, the sensation you have goes.
But it's also an energy thing as well, you know. So going, you know, is it the same as what I was just talking about earlier? Yes, it is, but it's just a more formatted version of it, I suppose. More precise. That's right.
And do you think it's something that like needs more guidance, like the EFT thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's undoubtedly, with a practitioner, you are going to get fantastic results. Partly from my thinking, it's because my intention is behind what I'm doing with the practitioner, with the patient, client. But I would give them homework to do to follow up. So they can do self-tapping at home if they feel a bit wobbly about something, or you know, it'll never go back to where it was, the feeling, when they first come in with it.
Yeah.
But it might sort of creep up a little bit, and then you just do some tapping to help it. So no, it's presenting, you know, classic phobia, presenting. Don't want to do that for all those people, you know, do some tapping, and it just brings down that physical charge.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It is.
It's
very simple.
Well, that's it, and it's one way of dealing with it. It's a competence, and then you focus your attention on something else, and then it's a different layer you're focusing on as well, the energetic layer, and then you can really.
Yeah. So I say to people when I'm doing all my, you know, my presenting now, it's keep it simple. You know, stop complicating things. People love to complicate things. It's really simple. You know, little changes here, little changes there, you can do it. I'm not talking about lying on death's door with stage 4 cancer and something else, but I mean that's a completely different subject. And I can be helped obviously by this immensely, but you know, I'm talking about everyday stuff that people are dealing with, the rubbish that people are dealing with, that they just empty that bin. You do not need it. You know, let's start again. And it's like, oh, such a relief. It's like, you
clear
know,
the excess you don't need first.
Yeah.
Well, clean your bedroom.
Clean your bedroom.
Exactly. We agree.
This is a bit of an uncomfortable question, but it's something that I think about quite a lot. And so, like, cancer is obviously tricky, right? Lots of people have been working on trying to solve it or whatever for a long time. And you mentioned that obviously, like, cancer can be helped, or even in some people really like amazing things can happen with these kind of like techniques. So do you think that cancer is almost like a like allowing all of these feelings, all of these issues to go and just completely run wild throughout a person's life over a long period of time, and then the cancer kind of manifests because they're not releasing these emotions or these issues or whatever?
Can be.
Yeah.
Can be, yeah. I mean, one has to be very difficult, careful what one says.
Yeah, of course.
But certainly there is plenty of evidence that, you know, different therapies have an extraordinary effect on the way the body responds to cancer. Whether or not chemo is involved or chemotherapy is involved or anything else. I mean, a lot of people will do chemotherapy and then back it up with lots of nutrition, lots of mental work, lots of you know, energy work, lots of all sorts of different therapies.
Use all the different guns.
Absolutely. And some people choose to do it without chemotherapy, which is very brave, but it's, you know, that also has been...
I read a book about someone who called The Journey. And she, like, that's an insane story. Yeah, it is an insane story, and a great friend of mine has also written the book, a similar story. But she went through her alternative journey, if that's the right word, complementary journey, after one round of chemotherapy, which nearly killed her, but she was told she didn't have it, she would die anyway.
So she did this for I think it was 10 years in order that her body would be then strong enough to take this very aggressive form of chemotherapy pre-stem cell, which I didn't realise was stem cell. You have to clean the body out completely before you put in the stem cell. So she wasn't strong enough to have this very aggressive treatment. So in her mind, she wanted to get strong mentally and physically. It was it was tough. You know, this is someone who literally had to change her whole life, every single part of her life, and everybody had to go with her as well. Children, you know, it wasn't just her. It's, you know, you're changing her whole environment. And she's done it. She's written a great book too. So
what's the book called?
So, POG.
POG.
P-O-G. POG.
POG.
Yes. And all proceeds go to St Bart's Hospital. So there you go, a little plug.
That's it. So all 10 people listening.
Yeah. She's a fantastic lady. So
they are extraordinary people.
Yeah.
And I guess it's to be a bit cautious when we talk about those illnesses and diseases, or both, and because it's not the same experience we all have from the same symptoms in a way, and I think that's where the whole.
So you're talking about the mumps and measles and
and the cancer as well. So
yes.
you have a small cell carcinoma of the lung because we've done histological thing, and you got a bit of fluid in your lung, and you're coughing, and then a lot and saying, yeah, great, but how is it affecting your life really, and how all the people having the same medical symptoms and the same diagnosis are actually having it influences their life in a very different fashion really, and that's a bit the whole tricky part really, because there's people who are a bit better, and I'm not too sure and I'm not knowledgeable at all about that subject, but there must be people who are less agreeable, maybe a bit more extraverted, who are a bit more, less neurotic, and the way they interact with the world is a bit different, and it's quite auspicious and enabling them to really take that fight on, really, because it's really the dragon that you go with, and you go with your penknife basically, and you have to throw yourself in the whole lot, and you have to get close and personal, and it takes a while. It's not like a very easy thing. You need to have a go at it, and it's like a marathon a bit, really. Well, it's life as well. It's life as well, really. So life is suffering.
Well, it makes sense that everyone's experience of it is very slightly different, and then therefore whatever else is a bit different. Because otherwise, if everyone who had lung cancer, everything went the same way, they'd be sorted, done, because they'd have millions and millions of people with the same experience, with the same issue, and
that's it. But we'll have cure cancer by now with the scientific method. But the whole thing is we still haven't cured cancer with medicine. Oh, no, medicine cure individuals with cancer on a daily basis, and they do that very well. But when it comes to a population and humans, science will never cure cancer because of that. They are not. You cannot do the same treatment for everybody.
And when the cancer comes back as well, it's not so good, is it? The scientific or like the modern medicine method. If the cancer comes back, if it comes back, it's not so effective.
Yeah. There's different ways of doing, and depending on the cancer.
It's a big
subject. But it's a big subject because we talk about cancer when actually we should talk about health, really.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, really. People who have cancer are fairly and very healthy as well, or not. And what Alicky just told you, that our friend or acquaintance was not strong enough to get the conventional treatment, so she has to actually enhance her health, and she did it with cancer. So it's not because you got cancer that you're not healthy. That's the whole tricky part, and that's really the definition of health we are all striving to try to ascertain.
It's the mind over matter thing, the original mind over matter, the mind controlling, but doctors or medics traditionally would have I don't know where it started and why it started, but they used to say, you know, you've got 3 months to live, or you've got 6 months to live, or you've got a year, whatever it might be. They always put a prognosis, a time zone on it. And you bet your bottom dollar that person will die 1 year to the day, or 3 months to the day, or 6 months to the day. It's like it sort of reprograms the system. I mean, it's been proved. I'm just regurgitating what I hear and read. And
people are obviously in an altered state of consciousness when they are in that room and having that diagnosis, and therefore they're in an hypnotic state, and it's a suggestive thing of saying you're going to have 1 year to live. And some people are very suggestive and they're going to die, and others are going to be like, yeah, right.
Yeah, people are like, no.
It's not happening to me. No.
And the other thing that also I hear over and over and over again is my mother had cancer, my grandmother had cancer, my aunt had cancer, my family members had cancer. So I will be getting cancer. You know, that is my, you know,
destiny.
I am next in line.
Genetic determinism.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. What I say to them is, you know, if you are genetically predisposed, is that the right word?
Yeah, exactly.
But so if you go and trash your body, if you go and push your body to extremes, you're more than likely to get cancer, or you're more likely to get MS or motor neuron or some autoimmune disease. It doesn't mean you're going to get it, but if you're more likely to get one thing, I'm more likely to get another thing. But that's okay, because you're not going to get it, because you're looking after yourself. You've come to see me. You're
on a journey.
You're dealing with your brain and your body, and I'm going to send you now to see a nutritionist, and I'm whatever, and you're on the journey. It's great. Lexi's going to sort your whole rest of your body out, and then people are like, oh, and it's amazing. You see, her eyes, I mean, everything changes.
It's
the whole makeup.
It's such a weird paradigm shift when you start to think like that.
Epigenetic. So you inherit only 50% of the genetic, but you inherit 50% of behavior. So if you are predisposed genetically to having type 2 diabetes, is one thing, but if your mum and your grandma and your grand aunt and your great granddad and everybody else has used candy to actually help them to deal with stress, well, you're gonna have inherited that really, and that's something you can change. The genetic predisposition you can't really, and you almost have to think about it with those kind of things. It's like you're just part of a chain in a way. So there's all the people after, oh, my grandma, my na. Yeah, what about your grandchild? What about him? Do you think about him? Oh, well, yeah. Because what you're doing today is going to influence your great-grandchild. And if you're actually cutting your sugar consumption and you salt the patterns that you've inherited a little bit, and you can change, because you can change your behavior, well, maybe your kids will develop diabetes 15 years later than you, and you have developed it 5 years later than your parents. And their kids, because of that, might not develop it in their 90s, and their kids might not develop it at all, despite the genetic predisposition. And that's a bit the whole lot, really. So not only you're doing the journey for yourself, but you're doing the journey for the others after you. The next one.
For the greater good.
But not the greater good, but for is that change of things, really. No. It's a good. Well, if it's done for the greater good, it will have a positive effect. But if you do it for the wrong reason, it will not.
But people are really happy with the story ending it's in my genetics.
That's it. Full stop. There's nothing I can do.
Coat's hung up, they don't have to do anything.
That's it.
Adventure stopped.
Good job.
Journey stopped.
And the only reason you would want to think like that is to not take responsibility.
Yeah.
That's it. Full stop. There's no other reason for the whole lot, really. And it's not the easy thing, and you're not going to change your genetics very easily, but you can change your behavior a bit more easily. That's the whole thing, really. And
there are diseases that are
obviously
inherited, and Huntington's and things like that. But
cystic fibrosis.
Yeah. But there are a lot of them that
of course
can help.
That's it. Because the environmental pressure that you put on your genetic is actually the way you respond to your environment, and that's how it goes, really. So you got a dysfunction into the transcription of things, and certain genes are preferably transcribed and things like that, and that's how it goes from I don't know, like it's like a humoral type thing, so you get like eczemas and things like that, which are a bit the extracellular type thing, and then you get the cellular type dysfunction, and then you get a bit of inside the cell dysfunction, and then you get a nucleus and DNA dysfunction. So you get different depths of dysfunction into your body, really. And the length of time you're having that behavior, the deeper it goes, really, in a way. Okay.
More fixed it becomes.
That becomes so they talk that in homotoxicology. It's like a branch of homeopathy, and they talk about that different.
What's it called?
No, homotoxicology.
Oh,
yeah. It's like a branch of homeopathy who talks about that. They inject people with like in their backs or in their muscles or whatever with really saline type thing with remedy in it. It's quite an interesting way of doing it, really. It's
very
and let it go through the layers itself.
Well, depending on the type of disease you have, and they classify it into different.
That's crazy.
And the cancer is the deepest one, really.
Yeah.
We are crazy animals.
We are. Yeah. And do you know about fecal transplants? That's another subject. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's
I'm
incredible.
sure they didn't do that in Neanderthal days. Who knows?
Maybe they ate it straight from.
They wanted to say they never fed it to their babies. You just don't know.
Yeah. There's a guy who was going around. I can't remember his name. It's ages I read about him. He was going around loads of different tribes and like staying with them for quite a while, and then doing like fecal transplants.
Really?
Yeah, because he was like, I want my body to be, I want to be Superman and like completely like fight against anything. I can't remember what happened to him in the end, but I know at some point he got really, really ill from one thing in particular. And then
but again, because he hasn't evolved in that.
Stripped from the feces is stripped from all the context.
That is,
he's not
just
involved
the
in
content.
that. It's just the content. Yeah. But I think that's incredible because you can really save people's lives, can't you?
It's extraordinary.
People with Clostridium difficile, people in hospital who've had doses of antibiotics to their eyeballs to try to get rid of those things, and there's a resistance who's built up, and therefore they really get poorly. And then you actually compete, you transplant clean poo and the whole bacterial set that comes with it. In order to compete with that antibiotic resistant bacteria, and actually, there's more competition, and therefore it cannot develop as readily, and the normal transit is happening, the submucosal plexus that we are talking about is happening, the immune system comes out, there's less mucus, there's less diapedesis, there's less all the whole thing, and it settles the inflammatory process, and people tend to recover very nicely, really.
So crazy.
And there's new research now, which I find absolutely amazing, is they're using fecal transplants now for autism in America with great success. Amazing.
But I believe that people's guts, so like the third brain or the three brains that they used to talk about, and obviously you're talking about brain matter or neurons in the gut. Surely you must think that it will have a part to play in certain behavioural.
Oh yeah, I mean there's a huge subject called GAP. It's gut and psychology, and actually the Andrew Wakefield, do you remember the chap who was struck? Was he struck off? But he was just discredited for his
views. No, it's not his views actually.
The measles, mumps, and rubella vaccination causing autism.
But he had not said that measles and the vaccine was causing autism. He was saying in certain type of patients who've got digestive issues, and especially ulcerative colitis and Crohn's and others, I can't really remember exactly, the likelihood of them when vaccinated to develop an autistic spectrum was something that needed to be investigated.
And he was laughed,
and everybody has said, so that's again the context and the content, everybody stripped the whole stuff and they said, vaccines causes autism. No. Vaccine doesn't cause autism, but you might increase your chance of developing some kind of autistic spectrum if you had a very bad digestive issue as a kid. and you were vaccinated with MMR. And he wanted more research to be done on the subject, and it's been completely...
but of course now, 10 years later,
we do put transplant on autistic kids, and actually, and we restore their kids, and maybe he was right all along. But
that's just before you came, I was introducing another podcast, previous one that we did. We were talking about the left and the right side of the brain in that podcast, and I think there was a big part of us talking about how science can be really, really left brain, and it's really, really good that it is in lots of ways because it's helped us do loads of things. But sometimes that example of someone being like, here's a study and I think it's got some water, and then science being like, vaccines cause autism, no, and then just throwing it under the carpet, throwing it out. It's like, it's too much of a literal interpretation of something, and then now it's coming back. It's quite interesting that there's a few things like that within science that they've had to leave for quite a while and then revisit it, and then now they're like,
Galileo Galilei was almost put at the stake for saying that the Earth was turning, and then it was turning around the sun and all the rest, really. So, sometimes it's a bit different. It's a bit the same thing. It's a bit the same thing.
We do now know that he should have been burnt at the stake.
Yeah, that's it.
It is flat.
And immobile and at the center of the universe.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
My mistake.
Of course.
No, it's a big subject again, and that whole thing, but the gut is really playing such an integral role, and its response to your perception of your environment. Yeah. So, and that's what autism is all about a bit. If my understanding of autism is accurate, people don't tend to be able to filter the sensory input they are having, basically. For whatever reason, and therefore they have to have certain behaviors, repetitive behaviors, to try to calm themselves down. So they're going to tap something or bash their head or withdraw them, and they have to withdraw themselves, basically. So you can't, if you were getting rid of their hearing a bit, or really dampening the hearing and the lighting, and not having too much kinesthetic effect on them, all of a sudden they can calm down because there's not so much sensory input in a way. Well, overload a bit, which could be coming from the sensation they got in their gut, which actually completely disrupts a bit their cognitive thing. People who've got anxiety, we've got lots of people with anxiety, and anxiety is that really. It's you thinking, oh my god, there's something wrong with me, I'm about to speak in public, and my gut is really bad, oh my god, I've got something wrong with me, I'm gonna die. It's like, no, you're actually quite excited. Yeah. And when you're excited, you got that sensation. Remember, no, that's true.
I forgot.
Oh.
I heard somebody say, everybody has anxiety. Anxiety is a good thing. It's good, but you need to be able to have it and then switch it off again.
That's it.
And the anxiety that we think of today is when it's on
all the time.
There's no switch.
You don't know how to control it, kind of thing, or work with it. I like the idea of like, I can't remember who said it, like taming it, like it being something that you've got to try and figure out how to build a relationship with and like understand how to use it, kind of thing. As soon as as soon as I heard that, I was like, I just had a completely different view on it, and it immediately I've not had like anxiety issues since, basically.
Yeah, just look at it and go, hello. What are you doing here again?
Yeah. Or maybe not so normal if you're really triggered by any kind of normal thing all the time, and then you need to, there's other things that maybe need to be done to calm you down, and you need to maybe isolate what are the triggers. Yeah. But normal people, whether what is normal as a people and what are people anyway, but most of us, humans, are having those gut feelings in light of the change in their environment, and it's a normal thing. And you're about to base jump from a building, some of us are going to poop ourselves, literally, because the gut is really, and the adrenaline and the whole thing is too strong, really. And some of us are responding that way, and others are going to love it. They're so excited, they can't wait to have more of that sensation. That's it. So addictive.
With the gut feeling, don't you think, so you were talking about like women walking home and being like, I knew this thing was like something bad was going to happen. Don't you feel like, or think that potentially some people have like might be hypersensitive in that space. So like, you know, maybe they're quite an anxious person and they've got lots of things that you were just saying. Maybe there's some other things, other reasons why you've got those emotions and those feelings in your gut, and you might need to address those rather than just address the gut or whatever. Don't you think, like some people?
Yeah.
How do you find that out? Like if someone came to you and was like, oh, I'm really worried about these things, this and this, how do you figure out whether they've got something, whether they're a little bit hypersensitive or whether they actually need to change something in their environment, I guess?
I think in that situation there's a lot going on. More than likely they've got a lot of physical stuff going on. Some people are so hypersensitive that actually it's difficult for me to physically treat them because they've had this, not physically treat their sort of the mental side. So I will just put aside all that worry and anxiety and that they brought in with them, and actually just treat them physically on the couch, just to calm the system down. So I might just calm their adrenal glands down. I mean, you do similar sort of stuff, but probably more effective, I don't know. But it just physically calm their adrenal glands down with meridians or with some energy work, or just literally hands-on. I mean, physical touch is incredibly important. And that then enables you to kind of what I could go in the back door, but you can sort of slip in then and kind of start playing around with what exactly is going on. And very often they will let go of loads of stuff and it'll be very, very quick. And the initial reaction will the nugget in there that's creating all this what do they call it when you get a starburst of other things that are attached to it? I can't really call it. It's where it sort of goes, and you've got loads of things going on. You get that little nugget.
Firework like a Guy Fawkes Day.
Yes,
like today.
Yeah. It can be simple, but sometimes it can take a couple of sessions just to calm the system down. Because when people are very anxious as well, they're very wary. They're quite suspicious, critical. I can't be helped, even though they've arrived. I can't be helped. All that sort of stuff. So
anytime I had therapy when I was younger, it's such a weird state of mind. I was in the state of mind of like I can't be helped, beyond help, and I was also in a place of like this person's never gonna understand, never gonna understand me, and I'm just gonna just say whatever I want, and then never get to almost like it was a challenge. And then as I got older, I was like, what? That is such a weird. Of course they're not gonna. You have to be honest. You've got to try and be as honest as you can for a therapist to be able to help you.
But there's ways of finding out if you're being
honest.
I guess,
yeah. Of course.
NLP, eye accessing cues. You can usually tell when people are making things up.
Yeah.
Or don't even know they're making it up, whether it's true or not. Actually, because your body just can't lie.
Can't do it. Yeah.
So use your right brain, you imagine the whole lot and you make a bit of a story, or you use your left brain and it's pretty much of a fact, really. And depending on where you look, at the top or down, left and thing, and then you get an idea about the whole lot.
Yeah, you give it all away.
Yeah.
Your body gives it away, so your body never lies. That's the whole thing, really. And people don't tend to lie, but it's little white lies. So it's what you think it is. It's a belief, exactly.
But
so
don't you think that?
Go back to belief.
Don't you think that people can get good at lying? Because I used to lie all the time.
Pathologically,
literally serial liar.
So your name actually isn't Elliot at all. Who are you? And I still think that I got into a place where I was an unbelievably good liar, and with so
relationships.
What did you get from lying? What?
A shitload of issues.
How is it working for you?
Yeah.
Well, it just completely ruined my life basically, and then.
But were they like little white lies?
No. Well, I think most things kind of start in that way.
Yeah.
Kind of started as a white lie.
And then it gets bigger.
But then it was like lying about all sorts, like health issues. I also like stole quite a lot, so it was lying about like stuff like that.
Do you think it was attention seeking?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think it was like, from a young age, I think I had an issue, and I still have it now actually. It's something that I'm like actually struggling with in present day, which is like, I guess not feeling like accepted. And so then, like, what do I do to try and make myself feel like I'm like worthy or whatever?
Yeah.
And I think it was up until I was 21 that I had a situation where it was like I got kicked out of uni and I lost my girlfriend and was like, fuck, I really need to do something about this. And I think years of doing that means that it was just like a completely fake human that I had made, and so then from then until now I've really like battled with trying to find out who I am, what I want to do and stuff.
Yeah, I think we're all still trying to work that one out.
If we were not having
you guys seem so confident about it.
Yeah, that's it. You have to appear to be confident about it most of the time. That's the whole thing, really.
I'm actually just lying about that. I'm really confident and know exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah. No, we all are in
Just
a way.
tell your brain. You need to tell your brain all the time who you really are.
But that is good not to lie to yourself to the end, really, and then you were able to kick out the whole habit and the whole addiction of it, really, which is quite a big thing. Really.
It sent me on this path as well, like reading about the kind of stuff.
Fantastic.
So that's.
So be grateful for it in a way.
Yeah.
That's why I was
apologise to all those poor people and then be grateful for it.
That's it. That's why I was listening about Joe Griffin from the Human Givens. I'm listening to one of his online course about consciousness, and he talks about people who've got addiction. So you see somebody who's heroin addict, and then it's quite easy to point the fingers as going in the wrong direction, really, in a way, and to be like, well, I don't do that, and I'm so much more righteous, and things like that. But little you know, it's from that place, that deep, dark place, that you tend to bounce back. And when the person bounces back, he's going to be in a much better place than you, in a way. And he's going to have gained so much more wisdom, and he's going to be so much more conscious of the thing, really. So people who are alcoholics who climb up my steps and say, "Oh, I'm not drinking at all." You must not be too judgmental, because they might self-destruct, but that's their path, really. But if they don't, and they come to a corner and they bounce out of that, they will be greater people than possibly you will ever be, in a way, because you've not had that addiction or that conundrum to have to contend with, really. So good on you. You have done the whole lot, really.
You've done well.
Because you're a better person for having done it, because you know the two sides of the story, really. And that's what we're talking about to start with. If you are an ex-smoker, you know what it is to be a smoker, and you know what it is to be a non-smoker. And therefore you got the two ends of the spectrum, really. And going to see somebody who never smoked to stop smoking, yes, it's great, theoretically, but he cannot really empathize with you as a human and be like, been down that rabbit hole, a bit difficult, and the way I came out was doing this and this and that, and that's what it meant for me. And it's like, oh wow. And I think that can help.
You can't have empathy unless you've been there.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why you tend to attract people who actually slightly mirror you, or it's quite interesting.
That's like us being like story-led, almost like story-led humans, or believing in stories.
Narratives.
The theory is great. Like everyone knows what smoking does to you. Everyone knows what too much alcohol. Everyone knows what too much anything does, or any addiction. But that's not really very helpful.
But you're gonna die anyway, so why not die of a lung cancer? Which actually is that nihilistic way of thinking, that deterministic way of thinking, and that's the only reason to think like that is to not take responsibility. Full stop. Yes, but you're not here to. Yes, you're gonna die. Yeah, well, we all. But you're here maybe to live, not especially for yourself, but for others around you. Really, your family, your friends, all the rest. Really. So there's all that. Anyway. However,
I live by and I advocate the 80-20 rule. I can't remember who told me that, but somebody told me the 80-20 rule, and it might have been a chap we did a bit of work together, Nick Parker, who, if I can ever persuade him to come, he would be fantastic to talk to you. I'm seeing him on Thursday, so I'll ask him. But he I think it was, I can't remember whether it was him or not, but anyway, the 80-20 rule is just, I mean, it's just so liberating. So 80% of the time you do your best, and then you've got 20% to, you know, hallelujah, let's just go,
do what
let's fall off, let's eat some chips, let's be really bad, let's have a cigarette, let's have the extra gin and tonic, whatever it might be, you know, I don't know whether it's 20 bags of chips, but you know, you'll feel ghastly, but
you can go back on the straight path.
Very often, you almost don't want that 20%. You know,
so
you've got it.
You do 7% or 5%, and then the next time you do 3%, and then
it's not actually that much fun. You think, well, God, why don't I do that?
I'm generally the type that slides the other way to 40-50%. So it's like 20% was 3 hours ago.
But it is quite a good thing to remember, because people think, you know, people look at me and think, well, apparently they tell me that, you know, I'm so perfect at this and perfect at that, which I always find astounding, but anyway. And I mean, I just think, crikey, you know, you obviously don't know me very well. I love going hell for leather on this, that and the other, and a little bit of adrenaline, and I love it, you know. And, you know, but ultimately, you know, hopefully.
But if you're only doing it 20% of the time, then 80% or like 20%, however you measure it, then that 80% shine, like, it really comes through, and that 20% also probably comes through, because you're like exercising parts of your character in like maybe some not so great ways if it's more than 20%. I'm a big fan of that rule. Everything in moderation, including moderation.
Good one.
Similar thing.
Nice. Wow.
But that was a good way to maybe end it.
That's great. I thought we were just talking about me. It's fantastic. We just talked about everything else.
No, we talked about
it's just sitting down and having a conversation. I like the idea from the podcasts I listen to, like they all bang on about how often do you get the opportunity to sit down with some people who are interesting and just talk about stuff. And it's like, before you know it, I don't even know how long we've been here, but I bet if I check my cameras, it'll be like hour and a half easily. So
I said to somebody today, we have lost the art of communication. We are losing the art of communication. It's really scary, actually, through text messaging, emails, whatever. People just don't want to talk anymore. I ring people up and they're like, are you okay? Can I help you? I think,
what do you want?
I'm just ringing for a chat. And I go, well, I'm a bit busy at the moment. Just think, you know, gone are the days when, you know, 6 o'clock. It was at 6 o'clock was always cheaper time to call. I was younger anyway. And you know, 6 o'clock, glass of wine, you know, pick up the phone, chat, you know, and that would be your time to talk to people. But that doesn't, you know, doesn't.
But there's so many
it's
things.
Great. This is wonderful.
People to like. There's too many things I know in my life that I'm like, oh, that's really important. I definitely can't miss that. I really need that. And then something happens, and then I'm like. So everyone's like, oh, I'm too busy, I'm doing this thing. And it's like really important, I must do this, and I must do this. Whereas communicating with people is, it's good. It's like good in every way, I think.
So,
thank you.
Cool. Done.
Thank you, Alicky.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much.
Very